Hello and welcome to another episode of The Cat and the Parrot. What I wanted to talk about today was how far do we go? So Anne-Marie, I want to talk through, especially with COVID and what we can do in schools. So let's talk about maybe a child that is missing, and I'm using that word loosely. They're not in contact, basically. So what do we do as a school? So I'll give you a kind of situation. Maybe they stop emailing us, they stop submitting work. We've tried to phone home, we haven't got any contact. I mean, obviously age is going to be an issue. We could sit there worried maybe that how we treat a 5-year-old is different to how we treat a 17-year-old. But what do we do? I've been hearing a few rumours about us doing house visits, or doorstep visits is the phrase I've been hearing about. What should we do really as teachers? You know, I mean, we haven't got a huge safeguarding concern. They haven't got a safeguarding file yet, but they have gone missing. How far do we go as a teacher?
So in social work kind of practice, as in if that was a case known to my team that I was managing, automatically we think of the worst scenario. So think the unthinkable. So until I know this family is safe, I'm assuming they're not. Okay. So if you have that concept with this particular family that you haven't heard from, we can then step backwards to think, okay, so when was the last time we heard from them? What are we worried about? Was there anything we were aware of in that family system, i.e. stress factors, domestic abuse, toxic trio stuff? Are they a new family to the country? Blah, 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 blah. So with that, we, how many times have you tried to contact the family? So it will be something where you do your ordinary attempts, and then it will go up to management, I'd imagine, the safeguarding team, they're doing something in your school. And then it would be, when you've exhausted that, and I would say consistently within the same day, by the way, rather than wait a few days, because one could argue they could be a missing person. Okay, so I've had cases of that in my career where, in this case, it was a parent who was missing and child was a grandparent. But I remember the point of, until I knew where the parent was missing.
Right.
And on that back stream, I mean, this is, don't forget, on my front line of being social work and child protection and fatalities, that's the worst scenario. And in that case, it was somebody where mental health, etc., where unfortunately there wasn't a good ending. But the point was, because I was aware there could be a sense of that from the start, everything I did on that day was urgent.
Right.
You understand?
Yeah.
So I, before we left that day, I reported the family. So we gave them hours, i.e. I got the phone call at 9 from the head teacher saying that grandma had the child, but mother didn't collect the child last night.
Right.
And this is like 15 years ago. So way before COVID.
Yeah.
But there's similarities here. And I think I'm just teasing out that for you. And then what we did from there was, I said to them, all right, well, we'll be back at lunchtime, see if you return, you know, and then we did that playing around. Lunchtime, it was like, no, okay. So then we said, right, and it was open to my team as a child in need. And my social worker had done a visit the Wednesday before, hence this is like the Tuesday.
Right.
So long story short, we reported them missing by 5 o'clock, we reported it missing to the police in my team at the time. Because we didn't know where she was. She wasn't replying to any phone calls. They'd been to the home, the family, and she wasn't there. So as far as we're concerned, she was a missing person. And there was rumours about her meeting people online, blah, blah, blah. Do you make sense of the nature of risk?
A lot in the jigs.
Absolutely. Yeah. And unfortunately, in this one, it was one where she was going for a low mood in her life and you know, knew her plan. Right. And then she was discovered a few days later, unfortunately, where she took, you know, she was clearly in need and took her life. But the sense there for me was, in my job as a social work manager, I was aware that could be a possibility. Yeah. You as a DSL, that wouldn't be a possibility, but I'm introducing it under COVID, mental health impact, stress, survival, can't cope, only way out is. Yeah. So back to you. Where do you think you go next in that step of my explanation of processes?
Well, I mean, the investigation work that I've done, obviously I teach secondary kids, so I have friends to back up. So I normally contact a few friends and say, have you spoken to them? We do a bit of detective work there.
When you say friends, do you mean teachers in school?
No, colleagues. Friends of the pupils. So say that pupils gone missing.
Yeah.
Then I maybe contact that friend and say, I mean, I don't like snap maps, but one of the good things with Snap Maps is that the friends know exactly where they are.
Yeah, I know,
I
yeah,
can
yeah,
say
yeah.
to them, when was the last time you contacted them? I mean, it's
Yeah.
very different for younger ones.
Yeah, I get.
So we could do a bit of detective work there, because I have got parents that don't answer emails, parents that don't know anything about it. But I have done one doorstep visit. I felt a bit uncomfortable with it because I don't feel I was trained in it. I didn't know what I was looking for. I mean, I stood at the door and went, hello.
Yeah. What am I looking for? Do I insist on going in? Do I not? Do
Yeah.
I smell people?
I mean, I went on one training course and they were giving us advice about where to look for syringes and things like that. And that felt way out of my comfort zone. I was like, what? All I'm going to do is look at the child and just try to read the child's face of, are you okay? Are you safe? And if I get that little panic in their face, then maybe I react differently. I'm not really going to read the room. I'm not really going to try to sit there working out if I've got an alcoholic parent. I mean, I might,
because there's lots of factors there, isn't there? You got to think about your safety.
Yeah.
In that. So as you're saying that, as you were talking there, Kerry, I was thinking of, you're at the front door. Have you been invited in? Do I insist on going in? So social work, we've got different status than you. So they know, is it expected, unexpected, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Also, I can look in the fridge, you can't. You'd be like, I can look in the bedrooms, you can't. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Also, mental health, we still hear stories of frontline workers being attacked.
Right.
I remember years ago being in someone's home and she had personality disorder, we put, because it wasn't diagnosed as anything, so one of those ones. And she had I was sitting on the sofa when I was a school-based social worker, it was in 2000, it's about 99, 2000, around that time. And I remember she had a snake, I'm not a snake person at all, or know anything about snakes. Well, no, it wasn't a thin, slimy one, it was a thick one. That was like a door, like the draft extractor thing. It was one of those. I was scared. So you know what, when I noticed this thing moving, because I thought it was like a cushion on the floor,
so
I got up and I said, no.
Oh my goodness.
And she knew she was scaring me. So I know, I went. And she got a laugh off that because she knew she scared me, but hey ho, I wasn't taking any chance. But that's an example of all the factors you've got to consider. And we are trained in a way that we sit by the door. So we're always supposed to sit on the sofa by the door, knowing that we can exit any time, knowing that we've got our duty phone on us, that we could ring the office to say red folder, or before we go in, a colleague would know we're there and ring us in 2 seconds to say, okay. And I'll say, yeah, and I've got a code to say I'm okay. So there's loads of ways that, we would always have to write down the address where we're going, we'd check the system on the family, and then our colleagues will check up on us. So going back to you saying, I didn't know what to do, of course. Yeah. It's a completely new
role. So in COVID, though, it is harder to keep contact. So if we suddenly felt that we did need to do a doorstep visit, obviously we would follow our safeguarding procedure through school, and maybe all we'd be thinking of is it's that first contact, and then we could then write the referral from it. So we're not expected to diagnose or work out what's going on. We could just do maybe a doorstep visit and say hello, and then think, actually, we need to maybe get someone else to do the trained bit, the bit where they can actually look in the fridge.
Have you got a home visit point? So have you got a policy about home lone working and home visits?
Well, we wouldn't do a home visit on our own. We would always have someone else with us, mainly because you don't always know who's going to be in the house. So it could be mum and dad, and I always feel really uncomfortable if it's mum and dad and one person. I mean, I know what you mean. I just feel I would be more comfortable, especially if I could find someone so there'd be a male and a female of us going. It can be slightly intimidating though to the family as well. So it's always helpful to have someone they do know, maybe a tutor or someone like that. But so what I was asking is, do you think it would be good for us to do a doorstep visit and then do our referral if we felt that social services need to do something else after that?
I professionally know that I wouldn't expect a school in my head of what I know about being in the school and working on the front line in child protection in management. I wouldn't expect you to do a visit because schools don't do home visits. I'd expect you to read for advice, to say we haven't seen her family. If I instruct you, or then you go to, that's different.
Yeah,
but I
yeah,
wouldn't
true.
expect you to go above and beyond then,
Yeah.
especially with COVID time, even in ordinary
Yeah.
times.
Yeah.
You might have your first day call back, whatever. I get that. But I wouldn't expect you to do a home visit generally as part of your role.
That's good to know. So
I wouldn't.
I
wouldn't.
would, if we didn't have any contact, we could phone social services and say, we're a bit worried, we haven't had any contact. And they might say to us, can you just do a visit just to see?
Yes.
And then we've already planted that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I just think you're going above and beyond. And I think you always have to remember, you've only got a little tiny piece of the jigsaw, which is in the middle. Think about jigsaw at the edges, right? And slowly, everyone else, like the statutory agencies, health, hence GP, A&E, whatever, police and social care, they have the formalities of the detail that you haven't got.
Yeah.
So when you ring into social care already, hence with MASH and multi-agency, we've got information on a family that you might not have.
Yeah.
So we may not even suggest you do a home visit because it's too risky.
Yeah.
Do you make sense?
Yeah.
So there could be, and again, thinking about affluent families or whatever it might be, there could be mental health that you don't know, that we know because police have been called, that they haven't signed a consent form, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
So for your safety and your role being clear in the school, being non-statutory, I definitely wouldn't expect you, unless you rang in and we negotiated that you did. But definitely I would take a step back.
That's really helpful. I like that. And we've come to our end of our 10 minutes. A good little session there. Thank you very much.
No problem. That's fine. Speak to you in a bit.
Bye.
Bye.